can be really hard to tell how your ex feels about you after a breakup. Do they hate your guts? Do they feel nothing? Or do they still love you? Well, the truth is, there are some very clear signs that your ex still loves you that I am going to go over right here in this video. Now, they can be hard to spot, but once you know what you're looking for, they're clear as day. So whether you want them back or you just want to move on, it is important to know how your ex is feeling towards you. Now, we'll also talk about what to do with this information once you know your ex's feelings, one way or another. I, of course, am Brad Browning, aka the Ex-Back Geek, aka Breakup Brad. And as a breakup coach, I've helped tens of thousands of people get a second chance with their ex. And when people reach out to me, the first thing that I ask them is, how does your ex feel about you right now? Because their answer to this question will radically change the approach that they need to take. But of course, many people have no idea how their ex is feeling after the breakup. And so I put together a simple list of indicators for them to look for. And that is what this video is all about. So let's dive in with the first sign that your ex is still in love with you, which is number one, they apologize to you. Now, it's always nice to hear an apology from your ex, especially if you feel like they wronged you. But sometimes an apology is not an apology at all, but rather an olive branch from an ex who's secretly still in love with you. So I think of it like this. It's very hard for people to admit that they have feelings for their ex after a breakup. They don't want to be rejected. They don't want to look like they couldn't handle being alone. And it's always hard to be vulnerable. So while a huge part of them probably wants you back, another part of them is just trying to protect their ego. Now, in their ideal situation, you would say it first so that they wouldn't have to risk anything. And to make this happen, they're probably going to do two things. First, they're going to drop hints that they have these feelings in the first place. And then second, they're going to try to determine if you feel the same way. Now, one of the ways they'll do this is by having an emotionally charged conversation with you about the relationship. And apologizing is a way into that kind of conversation. They say, I'm so sorry for how I treated you. I care about you so much and I never wanted to hurt you. I regret everything that happened. Now, on one level, this is just a normal apology, but it can also be a way of prompting one of these kinds of conversations. So they're hoping that you say, I'm sorry too. I miss you. I care about you. I want you back, or something like that. But if you don't say that, then of course they can just brush it off like they were only trying to clear the air. It makes sense, right? So how do you tell a normal apology from one that has this kind of meaning behind it? Well, first off, you have to look at what your ex is apologizing for. Did they really do anything wrong? I'm sure you're hurt by the breakup, but did they actually handle it in a way that caused you unnecessary suffering? Well, if not, then this is a sign that it's less about their apology and more about their feelings for you. Another factor here is how the apology is conveyed. Did they, apologize and then quickly end the conversation? If so, that's probably not a great sign. If they really have feelings, then they'll stick around for a while and talk it out in hopes that things head in a more romantic direction. All right, now sign number two, they're hot and cold. So even if your ex does still love you, we can safely assume that their feelings about getting back together are mixed. It could be that they're just scared of what will happen if they admit their feelings, that you might reject them. Or it could be that, they have valid concerns about your ability to actually create a relationship together. You did break up once already, so it is a reasonable concern. And because of this, your ex is probably going to be pretty hot and cold with you. The cycle usually goes like this. The breakup happens, you both take space from one another, avoiding each other as much as possible. And as time passes, they realize that their feelings for you are returning stronger than ever. But they also decide that they're not going to contact you for the reasons that we already talked about. So those feelings continue to build and build until they can't take it anymore and they reach out to you. You respond and they're overjoyed to hear from you. But at the same time, they regret breaking their promise to themselves, and so after a while, they disconnect from the conversation suddenly, maybe even rudely, and you're left wondering what the hell happened. Now, you'll know this is happening if you get the message from them, late at night, only to find that they're, unresponsive the next morning. Or maybe you'll meet up and have an amazing time together, and then they stop answering your calls a few days later. They send you compliments one day, and then, one-word messages the next. People don't do this to other people who they have zero feelings for. They do it because they're being pulled in opposite directions by their emotions. They want you, but they fear what it means to get back together, and so they swing wildly between hot and cold. All right, and sign number three, they're angry. Now, I would never say that every angry ex is secretly in love with you. No, it's possible that you treated them badly and you broke their heart. And now that the shock of the breakup has faded, they're left with an anger that they feel compelled to share with you because they're seeking an apology or they just want you to feel bad the way that they do. But like with an apology, oftentimes this anger is just a cover for the real feelings they have towards you. And again, the way to spot this one is to look at what they're angry about. I'm sure that the breakup hurt both of you and maybe you said a few mean things that you didn't actually mean, but did you really cross the line into truly toxic, hurtful, or abusive behavior? Did you hurt them way more than they hurt you? Well, if not, then it's likely that they're angry at you not because of what you did, but because they miss you and they want you back. Now, exes will do this for a couple of reasons. One is called transference. They're actually angry at themselves for ending the relationship, or they're just angry at the situation because they want you back. But these feelings can be pretty hard to bear, especially since they're already grappling with the massive life changes that come with a breakup. So they'll take this emotion and they'll aim it at you like a laser beam. They'll say, my ex was the problem and they're why I'm feeling so bad right now. And if they can convince themselves of this, then they'll actually feel a huge sense of relief. Because it's much easier to be mad at somebody else than it is to be mad at yourself. So when they call you up demanding an apology and telling you what a jerk you are, they're actually doing this to convince themselves that you're at fault here so they don't have to grapple with their love for you. And the other thing to remember is that if your ex was truly over you and actually focused on moving on, then they'd never reach out to you to tell you how upset they are, even if it was justified. They'd understand that it's better to just move on and get away from you rather than diving back into a negatively charged situation just to try and get even. When we're really over someone, we feel almost nothing towards them. We don't feel love and we don't feel anger either. It's more apathy. All right, and on to sign number 4, they ask about you. Of course, if your ex still loves you, they're going to be thinking about you a lot. They also won't want you to know that, so instead of reaching out to you directly, they're probably going to reach out to mutual friends, family, and anyone who might have really any information about you. They'll want to know where you are, what you're doing, and who you're spending time with since the breakup. And this is yet another sign of investment that won't show up if your ex is actually over you. I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way, right? I bet you've at least thought about calling up somebody to try to get, dirt or find out what's going on with your ex. And sign number 5 is when they want to stay friends. Now, being friends with your ex is really never a good idea, especially if you want them back. The vast majority of people know this because they've seen it go bad so many times. So it's safe to say that your ex probably knows this as well. And that means that their desire to be friends with you after the breakup is more likely just another attempt to keep you close because they secretly still have feelings for you. So if they keep wanting to hang out as friends or always reaching out to you to spend time together with a group, well, you can bet that this is what's going on. It's another way for them to protect their ego while getting closer to you than they should because they just can't help themselves. They can say to themselves, we're just friends. There's nothing wrong with that, even though they're secretly pining after you. In sign number 6, you score over 70 on my free quiz. Now, if you do want to know your ex's true feelings, you should head over to breakupbrad.com/quiz right now. I put together a simple 5-minute survey that can help you determine your ex's true feelings. Again, just go to breakupbrad.com/quiz to find out the answer for yourself. If you score over 70, that's a great sign. And now let's move on to sign number 7. They won't give your stuff back. So of course, one of the breakup hallmarks is exchanging your belongings so that you can make a clean break. Now it's an awkward but necessary step if you really do want to move on. So if your ex is making this as difficult as possible, it's probably because they don't actually want to move on. If they make up excuses, fail to answer your messages, or otherwise just dodge the issue, then that's a sign that they probably still want you. They feel like the moment that you take this step, you'll be out of each other's lives forever, and they're trying to delay that as much as possible. So if you're wondering why they're being so weird about it, that's probably why. And sign number 8, they compare you to their new partner. Now you might think that if your ex has replaced you with somebody, then all hope is lost, and especially if they've replaced you with somebody who seems to be better than you in every way. But that really is not necessarily the case. Because if your ex seems bent on convincing you that you're way worse than this new person, then you can safely assume that they're still obsessed with you because they're still in love with you. Because again, who are they trying to convince here? If they really felt that way, they wouldn't feel the need to hurt you. They'd actually feel bad for trading up to somebody who has so much more to offer than you do. They'd distance themselves from you, and you'd probably never see them again. But if they have a bone to pick with you about this, it means that they're not moving on at all. Instead, they're trying to make you jealous of their new partner. They want you to see how well they're doing, because if they can make you feel bad, then they'll finally believe that they're better off without you. And sign number 9, they simply can't let you go. The more the time that passes after the breakup, and the more they seem to still be clinging to you, then of course, the more likely it is that they still love you. This means reaching out to you for no reason, checking in on holidays and birthdays, and just, finding reasons to continue to show up in your life. So if your ex's attachment to you keeps going despite all you've been through, that probably isn't a coincidence. Breakups are painful, and so exes often represent a memory of pain and isolation. And the only reason to stay around people who cause these feelings for you is because the negative feelings are outweighed by the positive feelings. Basically, their love for you is strong enough to cancel out the bad stuff. All right, so now that you've determined your ex's feelings for you, what can you do next? Well, if it turns out that your ex isn't actually in love with you and you still want them back, then I've included a video for you in the description below and in the pop-up here in the corner of the screen. So watch that next. But what if they are in love with you? Should you run to them, admit that you love them too, and beg for another chance? While that might work, I definitely don't think it's the best course of action in this situation. Because, as we talked about, while your ex does love you, they're probably also feeling pretty unsure about the possibility of a happy relationship between the two of you. This is especially true if they're being hot and cold, lashing out at you, or otherwise treating you poorly. So what you need to do is show them that the two of you can start again without all the drama and miscommunication that caused problems in your last relationship. Now, at some point, that might mean having a heavy conversation about your issues and your future together, but at this point, you want to avoid anything that emotionally intense. So instead, just try to talk to them more and more and rebuild that connection. Don't bring up the relationship, don't bring up your feelings or any past drama. Just make them laugh, make them smile, and show them that you're still that person they fell for in the first place. If you keep the pace slow and steady, then you won't scare them off because they won't feel pressured. So just bask in the love that the two of you have for one another and watch as things naturally fall into place as time passes. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear about your particular situation in the comments below, or if you want to speak to me directly about it, you can head over to breakupbrad.com/coaching and sign up now so we can work together to ensure you get your ex back. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.